Welcome back to Money Mastery Now, the channel that helps you take control of your money, one smart habit at a time. If you want to master your budget, crush debt, and build lasting wealth, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Do you feel like your money disappears faster ever since you had kids? If so, you are definitely not alone. For millions of parents across the country, having a baby brings incredible joy, but also unexpected financial pressure. Suddenly, you're spending hundreds of dollars each month on diapers, formula, childcare, and doctor visits. The grocery bill gets longer, your energy bill goes up, and somehow, even your Amazon cart is full of tiny things that add up fast. It starts to feel like no matter how much you budget, there is always something new your child needs. And here's the hard part. You want to give them the best. You want them to be safe, healthy, and happy. But at the same time, you also worry about your savings, your retirement, and whether you're falling behind financially. That tension is real, and it can be overwhelming. Maybe you've looked at your bank account at the end of the month and asked yourself, where did all the money go? Maybe you've had to say no to something fun, not because you didn't want it, but because you just couldn't make the numbers work. If this sounds familiar, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to walk through how to build a realistic family budget when you're raising young kids, one that works in real life, not just on a spreadsheet, a budget that helps you reduce stress, gain clarity, and still make room for the things that matter most. So take a breath. You don't have to figure this all out alone. Let's break it down together, one step at a time. Before you can build a budget that works, you need to know exactly where you stand financially. That means getting a clear picture of your income and your expenses. It might sound simple, but most families skip this step or only look at it loosely. If you want to take control of your money, this is where you start. First, calculate your total monthly net income. That is the amount of money you actually bring home after taxes. Not your salary on paper, not what you earned before deductions, but the amount that actually hits your bank account. This includes your paycheck, your partner's paycheck, and any additional income like freelance work, government benefits, or side gigs. Add it all up and write it down. Next, list out your fixed expenses. These are the bills you pay every single month, and they usually don't change much. Think of your rent or mortgage, your car payment, your insurance premiums, your student loans, and any recurring subscription services. These are the costs that stay mostly the same, no matter what. Then, move on to your variable expenses. These are the areas where spending can change from week to week or month to month. Common categories include groceries, gas, utilities, clothing, eating out, and entertainment. These are also the areas where you have the most control, which makes them key targets when you're looking to cut back. One tip here, don't guess. Look back at your last 2 or 3 months of bank statements or credit card activity. Track what you actually spent, not what you think you spent. The numbers might surprise you. To make this process easier, you can use budgeting tools like Mint, WINEB, which stands for You Need a Budget, or even a simple Google Sheets template. These tools can connect to your bank accounts, categorize your spending automatically, and give you visual summaries that help you understand your money at a glance. The goal is not to judge yourself for past spending. The goal is to get honest and clear, so you can make better decisions going forward. Because once you understand your starting point, you can begin to shape your budget around what really matters to your family. Now that you know how to find your financial baseline, let's talk about how to organize your spending into categories that reflect life with young children. Now that you understand where your money is coming from and going each month, it's time to organize your spending into categories that reflect real family life. When you have young children, your financial priorities shift, and your budget needs to reflect that. We'll break your expenses into 3 main categories: essentials, flexible costs, and long-term planning. Each category plays a different role in your family's financial health. Let's start with the essentials. These are the must-haves, the things you need to keep your family safe, healthy, and functioning day to day. This includes your rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas, car payments, and health insurance. But when you have young kids, there are a few more essentials to add. Think diapers, formula, baby wipes, and daycare or childcare. These aren't luxuries. They're non-negotiable for many families, and they can add up fast. For example, full-time daycare in many U.S. cities can cost anywhere from $800 to $2,000 a month per child. Formula can cost $100 to $200 monthly, depending on the brand and how often your baby eats. So when you build your budget, make sure these essentials get prioritized first. Next, we have flexible costs. These are things you spend money on regularly, but that you have more control over. These are the areas where you can make choices and adjustments based on your income and goals. This includes clothing for your kids, which they often outgrow every few months. It also includes toys, books, and family outings like trips to the zoo or museum. And don't forget about digital costs like Netflix, Disney Plus, or any learning apps your kids might be using. Flexible expenses are important. They help you create joy, learning, and connection, but they're also where you can cut back temporarily if your income drops or your priorities shift. Finally, we come to long-term planning. This is often the most overlooked category, especially for families with young children, but it's one of the most important. Long-term planning includes building an emergency fund. This is your safety net for when life throws you a curveball, a medical emergency, a job loss, a major car repair. Start small if you need to, but aim to build up 3 to 6 months' worth of basic expenses over time. Next is college savings. If you plan to help your child with future education costs, a 529 savings plan is a tax-advantaged way to do it. You don't need to fund it fully right away. Even small monthly contributions can grow over time. And finally, life insurance. It's not fun to talk about, but it's essential, especially if your family depends on your income. Term life insurance is usually affordable and can protect your spouse and children financially if something unexpected happens. The key takeaway here is this. When you organize your spending into these 3 categories, you get a clearer view of your priorities. You also get the flexibility to make smarter trade-offs without feeling overwhelmed. In the next section, we'll look at how to take these categories and apply a simple budgeting framework that adapts to your family's real-life needs. Now that you've categorized your family's expenses, let's talk about how to apply a budgeting framework that helps you stay balanced. One of the most popular and practical methods out there is the 53-20 rule. Here's how it works. 50% of your take-home income should go toward needs. That includes housing, utilities, groceries, insurance, and minimum loan payments. 30% should go toward wants, things like dining out, streaming subscriptions, vacations, hobbies, and non-essential shopping. The final 20% should go towards savings and debt repayment. That includes your emergency fund, retirement accounts, college savings, and paying down credit cards or student loans. It's a great framework. Simple, flexible. But when you have young kids, it needs some adjustments. Because let's be honest, for families with children, many costs that might be considered wants for others are actually needs. Diapers, formula, daycare, preschool tuition, and even certain kinds of health-related expenses fall into that essential category. So for you, the needs portion of your budget might end up closer to 60%, especially in the early years. Another adjustment is how you treat the wants category. In a typical budget, that 30% is where the fun stuff lives. But for many families, especially those with limited income, you may need to shift some of that money into your emergency savings instead. Because when you have kids, financial surprises are part of life. A sudden fever, a broken washing machine, a canceled babysitter on a workday. That's why building and maintaining an emergency fund should often come before upgrading your television or planning a vacation. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a couple bringing home $6,000 a month after taxes. According to the traditional 53-20 rule, that breaks down to $3,000 for needs, $1,800 for wants, and $1,200 for savings and debt. But let's say this couple has a 3-year-old child. They pay $1,500 a month for daycare. Their rent is $1,600. Groceries and household supplies come in around $700. Health insurance for the family costs $400, and their car payment, plus gas, adds another $600. Already, their needs are over $4,800 a month. That's more than 75% of their income. In that case, there's just not room for 30% wants and 20% savings. And that's okay. The point of the 50-30-20 rule isn't to create pressure. It's to help you understand where your money is going and where you might want to shift your priorities. So if you're a parent, don't be afraid to adjust the percentages. Maybe it's 65% needs, 15% wants, and 20% savings, or 60% needs, 20% wants, and 20% savings. The key is to be honest with your numbers and intentional with your goals. No budget is one size fits all, and no family is exactly the same. But when you use a structure like this and adapt it to your life, you build confidence, you gain control, and you make smarter financial choices not just for today, but for your future and your children's future. Up next, we're going to look at specific ways to cut everyday costs without sacrificing your quality of life or your child's well-being. One of the biggest myths in parenting is that raising kids has to be insanely expensive. And yes, some things do cost more when you have children, but with a little creativity and planning, you can cut costs without sacrificing your child's well-being or your family's quality of life. Let's go through some practical, real-world strategies that parents across the country are using right now. First, don't be afraid of second-hand items. Buying gently used baby and toddler clothes, toys, books, and even furniture can save you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a year. Kids grow fast. What fits this month might be too small next season. And most baby gear is barely used before it's outgrown. Check out local consignment stores, Facebook Marketplace, Buy Nothing groups, or community swap events. Many of these items are in excellent condition and cost a fraction of what you'd pay new. Next, tap into your local network. If you have friends, neighbors, or family members with kids a little older than yours, ask if they have items they no longer need. Most parents are happy to pass things along. And if you're part of a parenting group, whether online or in person, get involved. Many communities have Facebook groups or neighborhood circles where parents share resources, post free items, and offer support. You don't have to do this alone. And there's no shame in accepting help when it's offered. Now let's talk about programs and discounts that are designed to help families stretch their budgets. If your household qualifies, take advantage of federal or state assistance like WIC or SNAP. These programs help cover the cost of groceries and baby formula. In some states, you may also be eligible for childcare subsidies or daycare vouchers that significantly reduce the monthly cost of early education. Even if you don't qualify for government support, many childcare centers offer sliding scale tuition based on income. Always ask about discounts or scholarship programs. Another big way to save is by planning your meals and shopping with intention. Food waste is one of the most common hidden costs in family budgets. You buy groceries, forget what's in the fridge, and throw out leftovers. But with a simple weekly meal plan and a grocery list, you can cut waste, avoid impulse buys, and cook more meals at home. Focus on recipes that use similar ingredients so you can buy in bulk and use everything before it expires. Cooking at home also helps reduce your reliance on takeout and drive-through meals, which add up quickly when you have kids. The bottom line is this: you don't have to give up quality to save money. What your kids need most is your presence, your care, and a stable environment. Not name-brand outfits or the latest gadget, Smart budgeting isn't about being cheap. It's about being intentional, spending where it matters and saving where you can. In the next section, we'll talk about childcare and early education costs and how to plan for them in a way that fits your financial situation. Childcare is one of the biggest financial challenges families face during the early years. In fact, for many parents, the cost of daycare or preschool rivals their rent or mortgage. That is why planning for childcare and early education is a critical part of any family budget. Let's start with the basics. In the United States, the average cost of full-time daycare can range anywhere from $800 to over $2,000 per month, depending on where you live. Urban areas and coastal states tend to be more expensive, while rural communities may have more affordable options, and that is just daycare. Preschool tuition, while sometimes slightly lessy, still adds up quickly, especially if your child attends 5 days a week. When budgeting for childcare, explore both public and private options. Some states offer publicly funded preschool programs, often called pre-K or universal pre-K, that are either free or offered at a reduced rate. These programs usually prioritize families with lower incomes or children with specific developmental needs. It is worth checking your state's Department of Education or Child and Family Services website to see what is available. If public preschool is not an option or there is a long wait list, private daycare centers and in-home childcare providers are common alternatives. Each has pros and cons. Larger centers may offer more structured curriculums and social opportunities, while in-home care can be more flexible and personal. Either way, make sure the provider is licensed, insured, and has strong references. To make the search process easier, there are several apps and websites designed to help parents find reliable childcare. Brightwheel is one popular platform used by many preschools and daycares to manage communication, billing, and classroom updates. Care.com is another tool where families can search for local nannies, babysitters, and in-home providers, with reviews and background checks available. While you are planning for childcare, do not forget about healthcare. Children need regular checkups, vaccinations, and occasional urgent care visits. That makes health insurance a non-negotiable part of your family's financial plan. If your employer offers family coverage, review the options carefully. Compare monthly premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket maximums. If you are self-employed or do not have access to an employer plan, you can explore coverage through the Healthcare Gov Marketplace. And remember, your child may qualify for CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program, which offers affordable coverage in many states. And here is something that is often overlooked. As a parent, your own health coverage is just as important. If something happens to you, whether it's illness or injury, it can directly impact your income and your ability to care for your children. Protecting your own well-being is part of protecting your family. Childcare and health coverage may feel like big numbers in your budget, but they are investments in your child's future and your family's stability. And with careful planning, you can manage these costs without putting your finances at risk. Coming up, we'll talk about preparing for the unexpected and why every family with kids needs an emergency fund. If you're raising young kids, one of the smartest financial moves you can make is building an emergency fund. Life with children is full of surprises. Some of them are joyful, others are expensive. That's where an emergency fund comes in. It's your financial safety net. It gives you breathing room when the unexpected happens without having to rely on credit cards, loans, or help from family. So how much do you need? A good starting point is $1,000 to $3,000. That's enough to cover common emergencies like a sudden medical bill, a major car repair, or a few weeks of missed income due to illness or job loss. If you're a single-income household, or if your income is irregular, it's especially important to prioritize this fund. The key is consistency over size. Even if you can only put away $50 a month, that's a start. Set up an automatic transfer to a separate savings account and treat it like a monthly bill. You don't have to build your emergency fund overnight. What matters is that you're building it intentionally. And remember, This fund is for true emergencies, not for vacations, not for back-to-school shopping. It's for those moments when something goes wrong and you need immediate access to cash. Having that cushion reduces stress, helps you make better decisions, and protects the rest of your budget from falling apart. Think of it this way. You can't predict the next curveball, but you can prepare for it. And when you're raising kids, preparation is everything. Next, we'll talk about how to work with your partner and track progress as a team. Money can be a major source of stress in any relationship, especially when you're raising young kids. That's why it's so important to stay on the same page with your partner and check in regularly, not just when there's a problem. One of the most effective habits you can build is a short family budget meeting once a month. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. Just 15 to 30 minutes to look at what you spent, what surprised you, and what adjustments you might need to make moving forward. This simple routine helps you avoid miscommunication and stay aligned on your goals. It's also a chance to celebrate wins, like paying off a credit card or hitting your savings target for the month. Another helpful strategy is to organize your bank accounts by purpose. Many couples use a system where they have one joint account for shared expenses, plus individual accounts for personal spending. You can also set up separate savings accounts for specific goals like an emergency fund, holiday gifts, or a future vacation. This approach makes it easier to see where your money is going and stay focused on what matters most. And finally, it's essential to agree on the big stuff. Before making major purchases, whether it's a new car, a family vacation, or taking out a loan, have an honest conversation. Talk about the pros and cons, how it fits into your budget, how it supports your family's priorities. Reaching agreement in advance helps prevent conflict and ensures you're working as a team, not pulling in opposite directions. When both partners are involved, financial planning becomes less of a burden and more of a shared mission. It's not just about managing money. It's about building a stable future together for you and your children. Next, we'll talk about how to manage financial stress and protect your mental health while raising a family. Let's be honest. Raising kids is hard. It's beautiful and rewarding, but also exhausting. And when you add financial pressure to the mix, the stress can feel overwhelming. Maybe you've had nights where you lie awake doing mental math, wondering how you're going to cover daycare, groceries, and next month's rent. Maybe you felt guilty for saying no to something your child wanted, or frustrated because no matter how hard you work, it never feels like enough. You're not alone. Every parent feels that weight at some point. And it's important to say this clearly: budgeting is not about adding more pressure to your life. It's about creating clarity and control so that you can feel less anxious and more secure when you have a budget. You're not just tracking dollars. You're giving yourself the tools to make intentional decisions. You're setting boundaries that protect your mental health. And you're building a roadmap that helps your family grow without chaos. If you're struggling, it's okay to reach out. Talk to a financial coach. Join a parenting group in your community or online. Speak with a therapist or counselor if the stress is becoming too much. Sometimes, just knowing that you're not the only one can make a huge difference. Money is emotional, and trying to manage it while raising children is a lot to carry. But you don't have to carry it alone. There are people and resources out there to help. In our final section, we'll wrap up with a few takeaways to keep you grounded and focused on what really matters. So let's bring it all together. Know your numbers. Understand what's coming in and what's going out. Categorize wisely. Separate your essentials, your flexible spending, and your long-term goals. Spend intentionally. Focus on what matters most for your family. And save regularly, even if it's just a little at a time. That's the foundation of a strong family budget. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a plan that works for your family today. And remember, it's okay if that plan changes as your life changes. What matters is that you're being thoughtful and proactive about your money, not reactive and overwhelmed. Parenting is tough. Budgeting doesn't have to make it tougher. It can actually give you more freedom, more peace of mind, and more space to enjoy the moments that matter. If this video helped you feel more in control of your finances, don't forget to subscribe and share it with another parent who might need a little clarity too. Let's make budgeting less scary and more empowering for every family, one step at a time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.